Yo everybody, what's up? Welcome into the building. So today we're going to be talking about the Love and Marriage Detroit new episode, which is the first part of the reunion special. We start the episode with everybody getting ready at their dressing rooms, and of course Carlos King being super extra as he likes to be, going around to each of the dressing rooms, hugging the cast members and hyping them up and asking them how they're doing and if they're ready for this reunion. Kolby told Carlos that I'm not the little dog, I'm the big dog, and they're gonna know about it today. Okay. Kristina took her braces off. Her teeth look very nice. I have to be honest, I did not like the ladies' dresses. They were a fail. They really could have done something good, but it was not good. Brandon didn't have his ponytail. He got a nice haircut. He looked good as well. Carlos called Russell Superman. Dr. Latoya was dressed in this black swan dress type of thing, and I just feel like it doesn't go with her. I don't know if she was like trying to come across as the bad girl. I don't know. Also, I gotta say something else. That set that they were in filming, horrible. They needed to turn on the lights. It looks so like dark and creepy. It didn't even look like a reunion stage. I'm sorry guys, I just had to say that, but let's get started. The first segment that they talk about is Brandon and Kristina's relationship. So we see the old footage of everything we saw this season. Seeing it back, I didn't realize how bad those first few episodes were, or I guess like just getting reminded of how bad they were when they were fighting and she was freaking out in public. So once they see that, Carlos asks how did it feel to see the whole world see their problems, and Brandon says it was actually pretty helpful because it put in perspective what you need to work on, and we're good now. They are going to marriage counseling, and Kristina says that she's glad that Brandon was able to see how he was coming across on the television screen, because before that he would just blow her off, when she would mention something that she was concerned about. And then it's like a tit for tat moment. He says, well, I think it's good that she can see herself and how she can be controlling at times, which, I mean, come on, man, that was a little bit unnecessary. Don't say that about your wife. Carlos asks Kristina about then the artist that Brandon was working with a while ago, that former one that he sort of crossed that boundary with. And Brandon set the record straight. He never cheated. He has never cheated. It was never a physical cheating. They never smashed. So Carlos asks, did you fall in love with this artist? Was it an emotional cheating? And he giggles and says no. I mean, he did have to get to know her as an artist, like on a personal level, but that's because he needs to know their story to be able to connect with them in that way. But Carlos is being tough, he's being nosy. He is asking, are you sure it was not an emotional affair? And Brandon says no. Carlos keeps digging and makes Kristina tell him what the messages between Brandon and the artist were. And Brandon apparently told the artist that he didn't like Kristina at that particular moment. So Brandon is asked, what was that? What was it that you didn't like about her? And he says that he was getting very little nurturing from her, very little attention, and it felt like there was too much negativity whenever she did talk to him, like a lot of nagging and complaining, which is understandable. But I mean, to say that to another woman about your wife, come on, Brandon. I'm glad he realizes that it was wrong now. And Brandon says that the moment that he actually realized, like, you know what, like, I need to fix this now as a husband if I want my marriage to succeed, was when Kristina told him that she could go and get any man she wanted. He says that she would have never said that, but because she said it, it made him understand that she was hurt. And Kristina is doubling down on that particular statement and says that it's not what she wants, but she could if she wanted. And that's definitely not something you want to hear. Carlos asks the other couples what do they think about that statement, and they say that's not a good thing to hear. And clearly Kristina wanted it to sting, says Kolby. But in summary, Kristina and Brandon seem good. Like, they actually look like a really nice team together. So I'm happy for them. Next up is Dr. Latoya and Anthony. So we see the packet for their footage of what we saw this season. So as we know, Anthony was going to work for Marvel Disney Studios in Atlanta, and that caused problems because this was at the height of the pandemic, and she is a first responder. So for him to be gone for 7 months, that sucked for her. Latoya didn't even care about the money he was going to potentially be making. She wanted him to be at home because a lot was going on. She mentions that the young kids were experiencing racism in school, which that's horrible for that to still be happening like in 2020. Well, in that moment it was 2020, but still, like, I personally went to a public school for elementary, middle, and high school, and it was just Hispanic and black. So I was lucky enough to never experience like that real racism. So it breaks my heart that her kids did. So Anthony did feel, or I think he probably still does feel, some resentment for having to come back and not be in Atlanta, Georgia. And then they talk a little bit about the wine and the investments that they made. And here's my theory. I think Dr. Latoya is the breadwinner in that family, to be truthful. Like, I really do. Latoya does say that even though they were on the verge of a divorce, the show really helped them be closer, and that she rebukes that there's a reality TV curse. Which they were all kind of talking about, like, oh, being on reality TV, being on reality, and I'm just like, you guys, you've been on for one season. It's been 10 episodes. Calm down. But Anthony says that it changed his perspective to see himself. Basically, what Brandon said. Although this was funny. Carlos made a little disclaimer and said that a lot of the criticism that the Love and Marriage franchise gets comes from people who say that marriages shouldn't be like this, like what we see on the show. And then he says, but y'all are either 20 or y'all are married or not, and y'all are envious. Well, I am 20, literally, I'm 20, so how dare you? No, but truthfully, I think I speak the truth when I say that some of the things that we've seen in the Love and Marriage franchise is not what marriage should be like. And I don't think my age has anything to do with that. But okay, next topic is that they discuss is the Kristina and Kolby feud. From the Kolby cat comment to the phone call to the confrontation to all of that. So Carlos asks Kolby on the Troy influencer circle, how big are you? And Kolby says, well, I'm not saying I'm better than Kristina or anything, but I'm definitely not little. And she says that she has more followers than Kristina. But why did Brandon call Kolby Cat? Well, Brandon says that he was observing some things, and Kristina did mention some other things, so that made him think that way, and he knows that she wouldn't have said it out loud, so that's what he did. So Kristina has to fess up and say that, yeah, that's true, but I did not mean it or intend to say it ever in the way Brandon said it. They then go back and forth about the Harper Ray collaboration, which Kristina already was on before Kolby jumped on it. If anybody knows in the comments, what is Harper Ray? Is that a big brand or is that a big store? Let me know. Kolby says that it's the way that things came about. If Kristina from the beginning would have came to her and talked, it would have been different. But Kristina says that was her intention when they met up. Kristina says she always looked out for Kolby, and she kind of says that producers wanted her to come for Kolby, but she would not do it, even though Kolby clearly came for her. Carlos asks for the status of their friendship, and Kolby says they haven't spoken since filming Wrapped. Russell jumps in and says that he knows that there was love there, and he thinks Kristina should have done things differently. Then Dr. Latoya is asked about it, and of course she's being feisty and comes for Kristina. And Kristina says, you always seem to ignore what she does and you come at me for what I do. Kolby says, well, you started it. And Kristina says, well, I didn't start anything when you came at me in that little meeting they had. Remember when Kolby had that massive freak out and was like, you are manipulative and this and this and that. That's what she's talking about. And then Latoya jumps in and says, well, if you started, then you can't control how someone reacts. But Kristina sort of like put her hand up towards her, basically saying shut up without having to say it. And Kolby says that she thinks Kristina plays the victim. And Carlos asks Latoya, do you agree? And she says, yes, no hesitation. She said, yup, right away. And she follows up by saying that Kristina has played the victim with herself, with Kolby, and with Brandon. And Kristina says, girl, you were not even in the situation. You didn't even have the context, but you were quick to attack me. So they go back and forth. Anthony jumped in, and Kristina says, listen, I'm talking to your wife. I'm talking to Latoya. And Kristina tells Carlos that she thinks Latoya has a different standard with her than she does with Kolby, and that she simply does not like her. She clarifies, not that she doesn't completely dislike me, but I feel like there is something that she doesn't like about me. So then Carlos asks Latoya, do you like Kristina? And she answers, I don't have a problem with her. But Carlos said, I didn't ask that. I said, do you like her? And she says, yeah, I like her. But like she said it like super fast, like just to, just say it, whatever. But then she says that she thinks Kristina is a manipulator. So Kristina says, can you give me an example? And Latoya says, yeah, you manipulate your husband. Which, this is now like the third or fourth time throughout the season that Latoya has referenced that Kristina manipulates or treats Brandon bad. So that's why I'm glad that Kristina said, this is my husband, you can't use him to attack me, like you don't know what's going on. And Brandon says, yeah, she was the victim. I was the one that treated her bad. So good job for saying that, Brandon. But going back to Kolby and Kristina, Carlos says that they were super nice, it was super nice seeing them in the beginning, how they were really good friends. So he's trying to mend things. And Kolby says that, yeah, she loves hard. If she doesn't have any real sisters, so for her to even have said that Kristina was like a sister, it meant a lot. And Brandon says that he felt very sad seeing some of those fallouts, and he even gets emotional. And Russell says some very nice words about wanting them to be friends again. And Carlos says the Bible does talk about forgiveness and asks Kolby if she's ready to move on. And she starts to cry, and that's where the first part ended. So it looks like next week the majority of the season will be focused on Anthony and Brandon going back and forth. I'm not sure what more they could talk about. I feel like 2 parts is a little bit too much. This could have just been 1 part, but we're going to be here next week talking about that. But as for this part, what are you guys thinking? How do you think Kristina did? I personally think she did great. What are y'all's opinion about how Latoya and Kolby came at her? Anything you want to tell me? Please don't forget to like and subscribe, you guys. Tomorrow was the Atlanta Housewives reunion, so I'm excited about that. So yeah, you guys, I'll catch y'all next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.